Hi, welcome to Widow Too Soon. This is Michelle Bader. I'm sitting here with my friend and co-host, Mark Mazzaro. I just had to for old time's sake. How's it going, Mark?
I'm good. We're back. We're back. There's both of us.
Back,
lucky
streets
audience.
back. All
All
right.
right.
We
Yeah,
go.
I didn't know I knew that,
Wait.
did you?
Widow Too Soon is back. All right. Wait, it doesn't fit. But you know,
So close. So close.
it
Just
was a
one too
good
many
thought.
syllables.
I know.
But we're back. There's actually
We're
somebody
back.
to talk to rather
I
than my
know.
computer screen.
Right? Doesn't it feel weird when you're just sitting there? Because I did a podcast, 2 of them before we did ours together, and it does feel weird when you're just like pouring your heart out. Like, is there anybody there? Is there anybody?
Yes, it is weird. And fortunately, I'm used to like sending like Marco Polos.
Oh,
It
yeah,
says,
yeah.
if you don't know, it's like a video app. I know you know, but just saying
Mhm.
in the audience. But so I am used to recording myself. But yeah, it is weird, and it definitely doesn't have the same flow. So glad to have you back.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. So what's been going on with you?
Well, let's see. Okay, so I did go to my girlfriend's state and visit her. My
Nice.
girlfriend.
Girlfriend.
Hey. And that was good.
Nice.
It was a little difficult for her, which I anticipated that it was
Right.
possibly going to be. But you know, of course it was. This is you know, I went to her hometown where she was,
Yeah.
you know, lived with her husband and everything.
Right.
And so that's different than her coming and visiting me, where I don't have any memories with Lacey here. And so
Right.
like I actually anticipated that it might be difficult for her, and it was a little bit. And so, you know, she had some grief, and we talked through that, and it's just really nice having somebody that understands when I have
Mhm.
grief. And
Yeah.
also it's a blessing for me to be able to tell her like, hey, like seriously, like I get it.
Yeah.
Like don't stress yourself out about how it's making me feel. Like it's fine. But
Yeah.
it was an interesting experience for both of us, but it's a growing experience. And
Yeah.
but we still had a really good time. But
Mhm.
just, you know, I felt bad for her that there was some grief. But you know, she eventually would like to be possibly be a guest on here, and so I will share a lot of these things to have for questions for her and not try to
Yeah.
speak for her. But you know, that was something I did, and that's been going on. And actually I've made a big decision that
Yeah.
hoping that a lot of you in the audience wouldn't mind praying for me about. That I've taken I made a decision to take a new career path. And I'm going to become a real estate agent.
That's
I
awesome.
have enrolled in a course, and I actually have a woman here who became my friend. She sold me my house, and she's just really, really nice lady. And she actually helped me with what I need to do and all that. And so it's really neat. And so I'm excited about that. I started the course today. I got, you know, about an hour and a half through it. But it's like a 90-hour course, and then I got to take the test. So I will need prayers, please, that I not only will retain information well, but will do well on a test. And you know, but it seems to be the right thing. So anyways, I've had, you know, some stuff going on, and been really enjoying my fall mornings, drinking my coffee outside. Some of you follow me on Facebook and probably saw my post. But yeah, so I have been just really enjoying that the sun is my friend and not my enemy.
Yeah.
Like on these cold mornings. It was like 41 degrees, I think, when I woke up this morning.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty cool. Anyways, so Michelle, what's been up with you?
I mean, I don't know. Let me think. I got engaged.
So that's cool.
Yes, I did. I am so excited. It doesn't even seem real. Wow. Okay, so some of you might have seen the video. I put it on our Widow Too Soon page, and me like jumping up and down, because that was like
you put it there too? I
did. Yes. I'm like, I just wanted to share this as inspiration. Like, I never thought I could love again, and here I am. And I shared the video, and a lot of people told me that it inspires them and it helps them, give them hope for the future. So that's why I'm going to share a little bit. I'll share my story. So what happened, if you haven't seen it, you can go to our Widow Too Soon Facebook page. I'll put it on the Instagram one too. And so I can tell you some background before that moment. I literally jump up and down like a little girl. Like it was not like I didn't even think about it. It just happened. I was so excited. I didn't think the ring would be ready. So it was like a total shock. I mean, I knew we were getting engaged. We've been looking at rings actually for a couple of months, and we had looked at, I think, 17 stores. And then I was like, I know somebody really great. So if you guys remember, I've shared the story about how Luke bought me a diamond we picked it up 10 days before and he passed away. And it was like this big, beautiful thing. So I knew this jeweler that was super great. I'm like, why don't we talk to them? And they were amazing. And this is something really cool. Like, I've actually had all this for a long time, but I couldn't talk about it yet because the world didn't know we were going to get engaged, but now everybody knows. So when we first started looking at rings, I think it was July, so a few months ago, I actually had grief. Like after like the first store, we had to sit down. I had tears in my eyes. I kept flashing back to this moment with Luke when we looked at rings. And Joel was super patient and like listened to me. And then he's so cute to be like, let's go to the arcade. Let's go do something fun. And we just totally like just went in that moment and moved forward. And then we talked about, what do you think? I was like, what do you think about if I took my wedding band from Luke and we put it with, our wedding ring? He's like, I think that's a great idea. Like, he's the one who said it would be very like, it would show like his love for you and my love for you, and that he took care of you and now I'm going to take care of you. And I love that idea. So we didn't end up using what we did because it wouldn't have looked, the styles didn't go together with what I wanted now, what I had. And so we took my old wedding band to the jeweler and I said, can you take these? They were like little tiny diamonds. I'm like, can you take these out and put them in my new ring? And they said, yes. And so there's like a bottom section of the ring that has little diamonds, and those are all from Luke. And so I think it takes a very secure and confident man to be fine with giving me, diamonds from my first husband. He's like, this represents his love for you and my love for you.
And it saved him a little bit of money. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go. That's really why he did it.
I'm obviously just kidding.
He's like, boom, recycled. Yeah.
He's like, yeah, we could use some of those diamonds. Can we use some of the gold too?
Yeah. No, and just to be clear,
I'm just teasing.
It's people I think have been mixed up. Like, I did not, that ring that he gave me right before he died with the diamond, that is saved for Haley. Like, that one did not get touched. Like, that is still there for her. And so it wasn't that diamond, it was the wedding band. And so anyways, I knew that we were having this made. And I just like, after I did my part, like what I wanted, I kind of left it in his hands. And right before we were going to this trip where we'd go to LeTourneau University, which is where we met like 20 some years ago, he had told me, just so you know, the ring's not ready. And I was devastated. Wasn't my finest hour. I was like super sad. But then we went and he really didn't have the ring. Like, he's like, I wouldn't have put you through that. Like, I really didn't have it. And then I think it was like the first day we were there, he got a text that it was ready and that they could overnight it like Friday to get it there by Saturday. And so him and my best friend Deborah was there, and they had this whole like secret plan. Like, she picked it up from her aunt's house, gave it to him when I wasn't looking. And then they kept talking about, we were at dinner and they wanted to like get dinner to go. I'm like, no, I want to stay here. And then they're like, we want to go look at the stars. There was like one more alumni event going on at the college. And I was like, really? You guys really care about that? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, whatever, let's go. And then we got there and they're like, no, let's go to the soccer field, which is right next to it. And Joel's like, let's go kick around the ball. I'm like, okay. I mean, he likes doing stuff like that. Like, all right. So he's like out, we're like looking for a soccer ball apparently. And then he was like, which field did you used to play on? And this one or that one? I'm like, this one. And then I think I turned for a second. And then when I turned back around, he was on one knee and was like, I was like shocked. And then I see Deborah over to the side videoing me. And he was like, will you marry me? And I was like, what? And then in the video, you guys have to see. Actually, I'll put a link in this description because it's just, you got to see the moment. I'm like, are you kidding me? I kept saying, are you? Because I didn't think the ring was ready. And he opened the box. And the ring was there, like my exact thing. Over and over. Are you kidding me? And I'm like jumping up and down. He's like, no, I'm not kidding. He's like, will you marry? I'm like, yes. And then later on in the video, he goes, I didn't hear yes yet. He was still in shock too. And I'm like, yes, I'll marry you. And it was just so beautiful, better than I ever dreamed of. And then we FaceTime my parents, we FaceTime the kids, and it was just a beautiful, wonderful on cloud nine moment. And then I'm telling all these college kids who don't care, I'm like, we just got engaged. And like,
they're like, sweet.
They're like, whatever. And it was just exciting. And that was already a full day. Like, we ran a 5K at 7:30 in the morning, and we went to a barbecue and a couple barbecues that day. It was just like a super full day.
A couple barbecues.
Yes, we went to
That's
one at
awesome.
school, and then we went out to, my brother was there with some of his friends. I don't know, we didn't eat that one. We just hung out. We played croquet and like
Did
hung
they have
out, and
stovetop stuffing at both of them?
they did not.
Do you remember those commercials?
No, what are you
It was
talking about?
okay, do you remember stovetop
I
stuffing?
know what that is, but that's like a
Okay.
Thanksgiving thing.
Yeah, it is, but it was just there was these kids that were like plotting how to get double. He's like,
Okay.
all right. He's like, stovetop stuffing at my house at 6, your house 7:30. Anyway,
Nice. Okay, I
so
get
I
the
just thought of
reference
that when you
now.
said 2 barbecues. I was like,
Yeah.
dang, that's
Yeah.
taking advantage. I love it.
Yeah, it was super fun. Like the whole day, it was just like a dream. And then like ending it with that, and just like, yeah, then taking a billion. Of course, then Deborah's I'm like, be our photographer, taking pictures all over campus. And then I'm like, the next day when we were dressed up after church, I'm like, we need to take pictures. And then at church, Joel's introducing me to everyone as his fiance. And I was like, yes,
That's pretty
fiance.
cool.
Beyonce. I was just singing all different ways. I was just like, Beyonce, you're my fiance. It was just amazing. And so I've been engaged for 1 week and 1 day. And I've already started looking at venues and planning, and we're looking at a March wedding, and we're off and running. And it's just like a dream come true, which kind of leads me into the topic of our podcast today called Engage. I never thought I'd be here again.
Mm.
And that's like, I want to talk about that. And I want to talk
That was
about
probably the best segue we've ever had into
Right?
the topic. That was great.
like, yeah, because it's exactly what's going on in my
Yeah.
life. And I want to talk about some of the feelings and just kind of what has been happening, you know, since I got engaged, leading up to it, some of the grief that it's brought, and just where I am today, because a lot of you are probably where I used to be. A lot of you, where we used to be, in this place of like, man, I remember people saying stuff, oh, you'll marry again. Well, I'm like, I don't want to. Like, I had this, like, it sounded horrible. Like, it sounded absolutely awful. I don't want anyone else. Like, you know, it's like, if I can't have Luke, I don't want anybody. But God changed my heart, where I could still, it's like this beautiful thing. I still could love him, but open up my heart to someone else. And so I keep being brought back. So at church the next day after we got engaged, it was all about you're either in a trial, you are about to be in a trial, or you just got out of one. And I just kept remembering, I feel like I just got out of a major trial of, you know, Luke dying and figuring out my life. And I keep being brought back to the grief retreat I went to 2 months after Luke died, where I felt like God literally spoke to me and gave me a vision of me like running across this field, and God saying, I'm gonna redeem and restore everything you lost in your marriage, and I'm going to bring you back to the joy of your youth. And like, just thinking about that from where I was then, and at that point I didn't ever want to get married again. It was still too soon to even think about that for me personally. But now I was just like in awe, just thinking about that moment compared to where I am now, that how did God do this? Like, heal my heart in such a way that I'm not only like loving again, but I'm thriving again. I am back to the joy of my youth. If you see the video, you see it. Like, I'm jumping up and down. I'm so excited, but yet I'm still so loving Luke. And he's a huge part of my life and my kids' life. And it's such a hard thing for people to understand. And that's why there can be judgment sometimes. Like, oh, you don't love your husband anymore? No. I got to start saying late husband, because I'm gonna have 2 husbands. Like, I usually just say husband. Now I got to say late husband because I'm gonna have a current husband. But the first grief moment I felt after being engaged was the next day. And when I was saying goodbye to Joel at the airport and kind of like crying, walking away, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have a husband. I don't want to lose another husband. I can't have a husband. I don't want to lose another husband. And I had to like, you know, quiet that, and no, we can't live in fear. But it was like, it's better to have loved and lost than to never love again, or love, you know what I'm saying? And same thing, it's better to love again and lose again possibly than to never love again at all. And so I'm just trying to go forward with that and not live in fear, and, you know, not let that cripple me from taking this next step. And it's just been quite the process and journey to get here. And you guys, the listeners, you've been through this whole journey with me, and just to see where I came from. You can go back, if you're newer, go back to the first few episodes. Both Mark and I were much different at that point, much more in grief than we are now. And you're on your own love journey. And it's just so like mind blowing to think about where I was like in 2020, like right after Luke died, to where I am today in 2022. Looking forward to getting married again, combining lives. And it's just like something that it's really been stirring in my heart to want to pour out into widows more who are in that first year, especially, and who are just feeling that such sorrow that my life will never, ever be joyful again. And anyways, that's like me talking a lot. And like, I
No, that's
know,
okay.
you know, where you're at, you're in love again. And what, like, do you have grief moments when you are, I mean, just let's talk about your, like your journey also. Like, where are you at? Like, do you have grief when you're with her? Did you have grief and you're not there anymore? It's kind of like, what has the journey been like for you?
Uh, Generally speaking, no, I don't have a lot of grief from being with her. I've had grief while being with her. But there is something, and you know, you and I come from different places on this, but there's something incredibly powerful about her understanding what it feels like to lose somebody that you love so much. And that like allows us to have this really, really deep connection. Where just kind of like everything is okay. Like anytime that she wants to talk about her husband, there's just no threat. Anytime I want to talk about Lacey, there's just no threat. And I know Joel is a very secure person, so this doesn't apply to him. But there are a lot of people, I've heard stories where when they start dating again, that people are they can't handle being with somebody widowed because they don't want to hear about your late husband or your late wife. They're like, but you're here with me now. I don't want to hear about it. They just don't understand. And you know, that would have been very difficult for me. And the Lord knew what I needed, and I needed, and she did too. We both needed somebody who was widowed because so anyways, that being said, I have had grief. Like in the beginning, more so, there were times where I had grief because she had grief. And that was kind of interesting because, you know, we realized that we can't go back in time, and that she had this whole life with her husband before me, and I had this whole life with my wife before her. And we can never really be that for each other. We're never going to raise kids together in the same way, or you know what I mean? And so those things at first, I didn't really know how to like navigate that at first. And then I just realized like oh yeah, like I could just be open and honest with her, and she is like really, really great at understanding. And I try to be that way for her too, that like anytime she's having grief, and she's apologized to me before for having grief, and I'm like, you don't need to apologize. Like, and I keep reminding her, and this is something I want to remind everybody in the audience too, that don't ever apologize to anybody for your grief, even though we all, you know, I still do it. But like, this isn't something that you did. This is something that happened to you. And I don't like using the word victim because I feel like it's like overplayed a lot. But you truly are a victim of your circumstances. This is something that happened to you. So don't be sorry for the way it makes you feel. And so something that also I think has been really important in my relationship is that we lost our spouse in different ways. And I think that's very important because not only do we have the understanding of what each other has been through, but it also allows us to have a lot of empathy for one another. It's not like we went through the same thing. And that we feel this any need to wonder who it was harder for. Let's say we both lost our spouse in a car accident. There might be this, I don't know, I've never been in that situation, but there might be this feeling of like, well, you know, at least you don't have to think about the fact that other people also died or something. I don't know. I don't know what that might look like, but it's just so opposite. And, I won't share her business, but for her, it was a sudden loss.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting. My friend Chris gave me this analogy that I just loved and thought was so beautiful as he and I were talking. One thing I love about talking to him, even though he hasn't been through this, he's never shy about talking to me, but he doesn't try to be fake with me. He's always real with me.
I love that. Yeah.
He goes to that level with me, and he can talk about the darkness with me, and doesn't shy away from it or get weird. And I just love that. And so you would think that this wisdom came from somebody who's widowed, but he said, I was talking to him about my girlfriend and I and the differences in the way we lost our spouse. And he said, well, it's interesting because for you, it's like somebody slowly ripped a Band-Aid off of you, and it was just slow, and it was like ow, 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 and you felt a constant pain as the Band-Aid was being pulled off.
Yeah.
But for her, it was like rip, ow, and then it was a big scream, and how do you say which one of those is worse? They're both terrible, right?
Really good.
And so
way of
I really liked
it.
it. Yeah, it was just such a good analogy. And I told him I was stealing it. Was gonna
thank you,
share that
Chris.
with people on here. Yeah, I thought that was really
people are gonna relate to that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And so anyways, all that being said is that no, honestly, I was in the same, you and I were in the same place because we knew each other back then. We both were, the idea of dating again was so foreign and weird and just no, I don't know. I remember telling you, or you told me, I don't remember which way it went, but we were just saying gosh, the idea of getting to know somebody again. I don't even want to do that. I don't have the energy
exactly
to get to know somebody again. I don't care. I don't care what your favorite foods are. I didn't have the energy in my heart to I would be like, this sucks. She doesn't even know I don't like beans. That's Mark 101,
right?
No corduroy, no beans. Those are my
no dancing.
No dancing.
Especially, wait, what if you had to wear corduroy, eat beans, and dance? Boom.
Well, that's basically
your worst
nightmare. It's basically I got left behind, kind of a feeling.
Wait, you really don't like corduroy?
I hate corduroy. I don't mind the look of it. I can't stand the touch of it.
Okay.
I think it's a very quality, good fabric, but just touching
like a velvet.
Right now, my hairs are standing up on the back of my, it's kind of like the nails on the chalkboard. Corduroy does it.
But that's
so
velvet
my brother. Yeah, me too, honestly.
The stuff that egg crates are made out of,
the foam.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so my brother, when I was a kid, he used to he was an older brother. His way of picking on me was he would pin me down, with his knees on my shoulders.
Yeah.
And he had this piece of corduroy fabric. I don't know how he got it, and he would chew on it.
Ew.
Oh my gosh, I was like, stop!
That's so weird.
It was the worst. He would just be giggling, chewing on this corduroy. And it didn't bother him, but he knew it just
wow.
Oh, I almost need to pause this episode right now because talking about it is just making all my hair stand up. So it's kind of a weird thing.
Gosh,
I've met one other person. It's my sister-in-law's dad who does not who feels the same way about corduroy as I do.
Interesting.
I've met a few people that don't like beans, but that's my other thing. Anyways,
I don't like beans. Yeah.
Going back to the point. So you and I talked about that. That was very difficult. The idea of that was very difficult for us to get to know somebody again. Now, I have so much joy and gratefulness in my heart. It doesn't mean that I miss Lacey any less. It doesn't mean that I love her any less. But this, my girlfriend, she's amazing and she makes me feel really, really excited. And she's so sweet and thoughtful. And it's just so nice to talk with somebody every day that asks about my day, that cares about my feelings, that encourages me, that tells me that she thinks I can do great things. And she thinks I'm smart and she thinks I'm talented and all these different things that just make me feel incredible. And I don't ever want to go back to the life of, I was feeling really worthless before I
Mhm.
met her. I remember I was on dating sites and nobody would respond to me. And
Except for
I
that
was like,
guy.
what the heck is wrong with me? Like, am I that bad looking? Like, come on. Like,
Wait, let's tell the story again. Was it like a guy? What was that story?
oh, what the guy? Well, the guy did say that I was like the perfect
Perfect
spooning size.
spooning. I'm sorry. We're past that now. You're happy now. It's funny. It's funny.
I said, thanks, Bear. No. No, but yeah, okay. So in all fairness, somebody did respond. Actually, well, he didn't respond, just to be clear. That wasn't a response because I did not message him.
You reached out to him?
Hey, to each their own. I don't
Right.
judge other people, but
Right.
that's not me.
your thing. Yeah.
I definitely did not reach out to a man, but you know,
He reached out to you.
apparently I'm the perfect spooning size. You know? I was so curious. Okay, this is total random side note.
Love
I
it.
really wanted to change in my profile when I was on a dating site and say that I was like 6'2"
Yeah.
and see if anything was different.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I couldn't help but, you know, wonder if it was my height. But anyways, I digress. Yeah, no. So anyways, now I'm babbling, but
Babble.
anyways, it's no, it's a tremendous blessing to be with somebody.
Yeah.
And
Amen.
you know, because I went from the point of bringing up the whole dating site thing is I was starting to feel very like worthless, and it's hard to explain, but women generally, I don't think, have this problem when they go on dating sites, but there is something very insecure feeling about reaching out to people over and over and over and over and not hearing anything back, like not even a hi, hello, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
But just literally hearing nothing. It is something that really attacks your psyche
Yeah.
and really makes you think that there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
And now I think, looking back, now that I've met this amazing woman, I think God was sending all my messages out into thin air because they weren't the ones for me.
Yeah, God was protecting you, like
I think he was
from the wrong people.
But you know, I don't miss that feeling of, you know, so I do. So I think God was allowing me to go through that so I would remember and appreciate how amazing it is to have somebody again.
Yeah.
That, you know, even though we have some distance, that I don't know, it just helps like keep me so excited about her because she's so nice to me. And I just like, I really appreciate her so much because you know, I mean, there's not only because she's so respectful to me and so sweet to me and so good to my kids, but also because like I remember what it felt like to not have somebody that thinks you're special, you know? Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but
No,
like it just kind of, you know, it helps to go through different seasons of life to appreciate what you have, you know?
Oh,
for
100%.
instance, and then I'll give it back to you after this, but this is a very, very important one that it's very interesting. Now, what I would consider to be an excellent husband to Lacey. She was an amazing wife. We loved each other and adored each other immensely. But I think I have an even deeper appreciation and not about the person, but there is something that makes things feel like you don't get hung up on petty stuff when you've gone through, when you know what it feels like to lose someone that you love so much. All of a sudden you don't care about the same things that you cared about. You just want to show incredible patience, incredible grace, incredible love. And now Lacey and I had that figured out pretty darn well. Honestly, we had an incredible marriage. I miss it every day.
Right.
And so it's not saying anything like, oh, I didn't appreciate her and now I do appreciate, but there's just something about losing someone that means so much to you.
Yeah.
That makes little things feel insignificant. Like, you know, if something, if my girlfriend and I, we have a little, you know, disagreement or whatever you want to, which hasn't really happened, but I'm just saying, like, there's just this part of you that's like, oh, who cares? Just, you know, be like Elsa and Frozen and let it go.
We are so good.
Anyways.
Yes, that's so good. It's
Can't
true.
hold it back
Back
anymore.
Ooh, we were like kind of harmonizing almost.
That was close. Yeah.
Let it
If
go.
if two untrained singers can do such a thing, I'll just play drums in the background. You can sing.
No.
So, anyways, that's my 50 cent on all of
50 cent.
that.
So I
Yeah.
wanted to point out, because I know both of us had talked about this when we didn't know who we were ever going to meet again, is like, how are we going to meet them? Like dating apps, this or that. Both of us met our people in unconventional ways, which I
Mhm.
believe is totally God. Like, just to review for you, our fans out there, our listeners, Joel and I went to college together. Like, I graduated 2001 from college, so like a long, long, long time ago.
No. You're giving away your age.
Oh,
You
I
can't do that.
mean,
2011.
2021 or 11. It was 2011. And like it's weird because like I kept up with a lot of people from college, but we totally forgot about each other. Like 100% forgot we weren't even on social media ever. Like, I don't know, we just didn't ever think of each other. We were friends, but not like super close in college. And then 1 year ago in July, it was like, comes across Facebook, someone you may know. And I was like, Joel, do I know him? And anyways, that's how it started. I became his friend and then reached out to him, and then we started video chatting and kind of went from there. And so that is like crazy. And so people are always like, how am I going to meet my person? People ask me, I'm like, the best way is like, God's going to arrange it. Like whoever, whether that is through a dating app or it is through whatever, but to stop stressing. And I know I've talked about this before, but I remember my best friend Deborah saying to me, like when I was really really upset, and I'm like, how am I ever going to meet somebody? It was like I was ready to meet someone, but I didn't know how. And like she's like, stop, like put down the pen, like God, write your love story. And that's when it was really soon after that Joel and I started talking. And so it's just this beautiful, beautiful love story that you don't have to do it. Like and you may never even want to get married again, but if you desire to get married, God knows the desires of your heart, and he will bring you your person in his way, in his timing, and to not force it. And would you like to review the audience? I think we've shared the story, right? Can you share the story?
I haven't in detail. Real,
I mean, it's up to you whether you do or not. Like I can't remember if this was like okay to talk about.
No, yeah.
Mystery
I mean, it's okay with me, but I don't want to throw her under the bus. Which is another thing that comes from understanding, is I understand her desire to keep things private. I don't have any problem with that at all. But yeah, so for me, I started realizing I was afraid of being alone. And so I started praying for another wife, not only afraid of being alone, but like I felt bad for my kids. I didn't want my kids to grow up without a mom, and all these things, like just, I don't know. And so I started praying to God for a wife, and that's hard, but I started praying very specifically for what I wanted in a wife.
Yeah.
And then I felt God tell me while I was on a dating website, the first time out of 3, I felt him tell me, like, get off of this site. I'm going to bring her to you, and you're going to know when you meet her.
Yeah.
I felt those 3 specific things. Stop being on dating websites, even though I didn't listen to that. I will bring her to you, and you will know when you meet her. And I was like, wow, that's pretty, but of course I started getting insecure when time started rolling by and I hadn't met anybody. And so I was like, are you sure you don't want me to go on a dating website, meet somebody? Because there's a lot of people there that are single, Lord. Like, sure that's not what you want me to do? And so she reached out to me, and it was interesting because I felt so led to move to Tennessee, and I didn't know why, but I could get into that another time. But I was feeling signs from the heavens that were so obvious to me that I was supposed to move here, and I was terrified. I didn't know why I was supposed to move here, but I felt it so strongly, and I kept seeing sign after sign after sign after sign. And these aren't just like, I heard him talking about Tennessee in the news. Like, they were very clear, very specific. Godly people would come to me and share a word that they had for me that they were supposed to tell me.
That's awesome.
And, just a lot of things. So anyways, it was a month after I moved here that Mystery Girl reached out to me, and it was interesting because she told me that she thought it was really brave that we moved and wanted me to know that she was praying for me and my kids and that she liked the podcast and she listened and thanks for what you guys do. She was not hitting on me. She was not expressing interest in like dating me or anything.
But let's talk about this. But she did reach out to you and not me. So I think there's a little bit of a reason there.
Okay. So, but I'm sort of, as most men, I'm sort of oblivious to these things, right? So I just, a lot of people, reach out to us or me or you or whatever, I just didn't think much of it. But I did cross my mind. I said, oh, she's cute. I wonder, no, Mark, no, like be smart, And so it's interesting because she told me that I think she told her sister about that she reached out and that, that I responded, but that I hadn't reached back out again.
Yeah.
And she got the advice, like, don't reach out to him again. Like he needs to come to you. And I'm already thinking, well, Lord, if it's supposed to be, she's going to pursue me. And sure enough, she didn't listen. She didn't take the advice. And she reached out to me again, and was a little more forward which is like way outside of her character.
Yeah.
And she was a little more forward and then, I shared some things she said, how can I pray for you? And I shared some things that were in my heart. And then she pretty much asked me if I'd be interested in dating her. And I was like,
so awesome.
Whoa, like, okay.
So cool.
Wow, Lord. And, I thought about it for a little bit and then, we messaged back and forth and then, I set up a phone call with her. And as soon as I heard her voice, as soon as I started talking to her, I knew. I was like, okay, it's time for me to pursue her now.
That's so awesome.
I've been in pursuit ever since.
I love it.
She's amazing. And she's just, it's beautiful too, because, I was exactly like, she not only was literally like everything I've prayed for, like everything. It's crazy. And just the exact kind of woman that I prayed for. Sorry, I thought my phone.
Please silence your cell phone.
I know. Sorry.
It's all good. We're used to it.
We're used to it. Yeah,
everybody on the podcast.
Like, change your ringtone, Mark.
It's been like forever.
People might identify me in the store if they see me based off my ringtone. Anyways, so yeah, she was specifically what I prayed for. But interestingly enough, on the flip side of that, she was actually praying to God. She told me in the gym that she said, why can I not stop thinking about him? I don't even know him.
Love it.
And that's just like so sweet to me. And
it is.
It's just so powerful. And that not only is she exactly what I prayed for, but I was the kind of man that she said was literally the only kind of man that could even allow her to consider moving forward into a new relationship. It took a man who was willing to show her great patience and was willing to allow her to keep loving her husband and to be very patient as she was walking through this new, just the first time we hung out together. We'd already been talking for like 2 months, maybe a month and a half, something like that, when we first met up. Just we're all adults here, right? Like I really wanted to kiss her when we first hung out, but I controlled myself, and I'm not shy. I'm not, I wasn't afraid to, in quotes, bust a move,
bust a move.
Taking it back to the old school, but it just didn't feel like she was ready for that.
Right.
And I could see she was interested, but I could also see her heart wasn't quite ready. And maybe I'm sharing a little too much.
You respected her. That's awesome.
But even that though was hard for her. And that was something that, that holding hands with a man again after, being married for 22 years, I believe, 21 years and together 23, I think, something like that.
It's a long time.
And it was very hard for her. And so we got through that together. I talked to her. I let her cry. You know what I mean? I told her it's okay. We don't have to, we don't have to meet in person. We can keep talking on the phone. And it just took a man like me, and I'm not saying that I'm great. I'm just saying that because of what I've been through, it's given me
Right.
this perspective that she needed. She needed the perspective that I carry
Yeah.
of like, don't worry about it. Like, don't stress
Mhm.
yourself about it. So anyways, that's
It's
our
beautiful.
love story. No,
Right.
it's and I needed somebody like her. I desperately needed somebody that because if she came over and was insecure about me having pictures of Lacey, because I got
Yeah.
pictures of Lacey all around my house.
Right.
I remember in a podcast episode I talked about, do I
Yeah.
hang pictures of Lacey
Yeah.
back up? I decided, yeah, I'm hanging
Yeah.
pictures of Lacey. That was my choice.
Yep.
It wasn't because of what anybody else thought I should do. It was because I thought about it, I prayed about it, and I decided, like, no, I want these up.
Yeah.
And she looks at him and she tells me how beautiful Lacey was.
Yeah.
And that she's so sorry for what I lost. And she looks at the pictures and gets emotional and feels so bad for
Awesome.
me for what I lost and isn't insecure. And so we've talked about that if we ever get married, that next to our wedding photo, we would have a picture of me and Lacey and a picture of her and her husband.
That's special. Yeah.
Because, you know, because we're both secure in that we loved somebody else greatly. And we both understand she had an incredible love and incredible marriage also.
Mhm.
And so we really understand each other well. And so anyways, that's the Mark Hour.
Beautiful. The Mark Hour. And just once again, I'd like to remind you, if we had never started this podcast,
yes,
you
yes.
would have
All
never met
credit,
her. I
all
just
credit goes to Michelle.
just have to say it. So yes. But
Yes.
it's totally God. It's God's intricate plan. So
And that's I know, and that's crazy because you know those in the audience wouldn't understand it the way we do, but I was very reluctant to do this podcast. Like,
yeah.
I was like, no, Michelle, stop
Yeah.
asking. I don't want to do a podcast.
All right.
You're like,
well,
come
we'll
on,
let you
let's do a
know.
podcast. Let's do a podcast. Let's do a podcast.
Yeah, and you're so nervous to share anything.
Yeah, that's why. Well, it was that I didn't think anybody would care
Oh,
about
yeah.
what I had to say. I'm like, nobody
That's
cares
true.
what I have to say. And you're like, but what's the difference between you and somebody else that like podcasts?
Exactly.
And I was like, well, I guess just those people think that people care what they have to say. And then God put it on my heart that I was supposed to do it. And I was like, okay, if she asks again, I'm gonna say yes. And it wasn't even like 2 hours
Wow.
later. You were
I
like,
always ask.
so this is why I think a podcast would be good.
Yes.
And
So
I was
you
like,
did it.
okay, let's do it. Yeah.
So you
Yes. So you
never-
get all the credit.
Thanks. Thank God. But like to encourage our listeners, thank God too. So I know.
Little bit of God.
A little bit of God, like all the intricate details of where we are today. And I just like to share this, like even going back to the beginning of when I first saw your post on Facebook on the page where we connected and like God telling me to reach out to you. And like, if that wouldn't have happened, you wouldn't know Mystery Girl.
I know.
I
I
mean,
know.
It's just crazy. So it was God because he spoke to literally in church, spoke to me about you. And so I just want to
I
use
remember
this
that.
to encourage everybody out there. God can write your love story in the most crazy, intricate, beautiful way that you have no idea. And so, like Marcus said before, use the time to become the best that you can be when you're waiting for God to bring you that person. And if you have no desire to ever marry again, that's okay too, or to date again, totally fine. And some people don't. But if you have that desire, pray, like tell God, I have that desire. Would you please bring that person at the right timing and
Mhm.
help me to be the best that I can be in the waiting and not be so desperate to do dating apps. I've told my stories too. I went on Facebook dating a little bit and there's some crazy stories and that wasn't how God was going to bring me my person. Hallelujah. Hot mom guy. But the guy who wore the t-shirt that said I love hot moms and he was
Yeah.
a little over the top. But,
Yeah.
anyways,
I'll
like,
go with you to the grave.
I'll go with you, the grave said. You want to go skydiving? I'll go. Yeah, it was just like one of those like over the top guys. I'll do anything you want. Yeah. But hallelujah,
Yeah,
that was who God had for me.
That's called steroids.
Yeah, probably. It was like kind of that, like, yeah, big buff kind of army, like been in the army. I don't know, but
Yeah.
it wasn't meant to be. So
Man, alpha male, super alpha male.
yes, totally. So
Which, you know what? Alpha males are not always a bad thing, but just
Okay, it's not always.
it's the characteristics that come along with being notoriously alpha male or whatever.
Yes.
That are kind of funny to me, anyways.
Yes. So the point is, I hope
Yeah,
this
sorry.
episode encourages all of you who are in that place like I could never love again, that if that becomes a desire of your heart, God can bring you a beautiful love that, like, if we could go back in 2 years and have a conversation between us, like, we would never believe, like, if future us, like now, could go back and talk to like 2 years ago us, we would never believe it. You're gonna be
No.
someone through the podcast. You're gonna connect with someone through, that you went to college with. It would just be like, what? Like, it would be crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd like to so yes, you might, like Michelle said, you might be in the stage of this where you're like, I'm never going to get married again. That's
Yeah.
okay.
That's okay.
I would like you to know that that's okay. But also, that being said, you might be the kind of person that knows that you don't want to be alone. You
Yeah.
feel like you want to be married again, but you just can't picture, like Michelle and I were. We knew we wanted to be married again someday.
Mhm.
Pretty early on it. There was a time
Yeah.
where we were like, never again. But pretty early on, I think for me it was around 3 months,
Yeah.
where I knew,
Mine was
like,
like 5.
okay,
Yeah.
I want to be married again someday,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't want to go through the process of
Yeah.
getting to know somebody again. That was a phase. If you're anywhere in those phases, just pray about it. Just pray about what you want. I literally, like, started going all, like, have you ever seen the movie Weird Science?
No.
Where they like created a woman in a lab? It's like an 80s movie.
What?
Anyways, like,
Check that one out.
I'm joking. It's funny. Yeah, it's total, like, it's like the same guys from, like, Pretty in Pink. I can't remember the kid's name.
Yeah.
But it's like that genre of movie. Weird
Yeah.
Science. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway,
I'll check it out.
these guys, these, like, kids, they, like, created this woman, right?
Oh
Well, I
my
kind of felt
gosh.
like I was doing that in my prayers, like,
Right.
because I was praying so specifically, like, I want her to be like this, and I want her to be a godly woman, and I want her to go to, biblical references for, that when we were having a discussion, I want her to think of biblical things, blah, blah, blah. I had all these very specific things I wanted, and that's okay. Like, you can pray, you can ask God for anything you want in Jesus' name.
Yes.
Doesn't mean he's going to say yes. Doesn't mean he's going to say no, but you can ask. And anyways, so I think that's very important for if you're in that stage where you want to get married again someday, but you don't want to deal with getting to know somebody again. Just pray that God is working it out behind the scenes.
Ooh, that's good verbiage. I like it.
And because look at the stories we just told you.
Yeah.
We had no idea what was going on behind the scenes, but something with,
right?
If I would have never done this podcast, if I would have never met Michelle, if I
Yeah.
would have never moved to Tennessee, I mean, just if there's 50 of these things, I would have never met this amazing woman who I'm absolutely in love with and can picture a
Right.
future with. And so yeah, it's like you never know what God is doing behind the scenes. So you just
Yeah.
keep walking forward in faith and trust. And we are not examples of doing that well, especially me. But I can tell you in hindsight that I should have been.
Yeah.
I should have been good because God was working it out behind the scenes. And he's probably just sitting up there with his, his hand on his forehead buried in his hand, just shaking his head at me like, dude, how many times do I have to tell you? Like, I got this. And you're still trying to figure it out on your own.
I'm just picturing, like, he's watching my hot mom date. Like, the guy, like, oh no. I mean,
Like,
you're going to have
what
to sit
are you
through this-
doing?
You're going to have to sit through this guy talking about himself for hours because you're trying to make it happen yourself. I mean, I never felt like God told me not to, do the dating sites or
Yeah.
whatever, but it just wasn't the path that he had for me. And I know people that have met on dating sites, and that might be your story, and that's awesome.
It might be, yeah.
might
And
be.
there's good things. There's good things out there. For sure. I actually know people who've met on dating sites who have beautiful
Yeah,
marriages.
exactly.
And so there's absolutely, of course, we're not saying there's anything wrong with that. But just in our circumstances, God specifically told me, I felt it. Get off of here. This isn't the way I have for you. So that just means for me,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's just an encouragement that you never know what God's doing behind the scenes. And that group that you and I met in,
Yeah.
there's another girl, I won't say her last name, but her name is Kelly. And I just saw she got you might be friends with her too,
I don't know
actually.
who that is.
She just got married again.
Nice. I saw
Like,
another one. Terry
yeah.
got married yesterday. Is that who you're thinking of?
No.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
She's
pretty sure it's Kelly. Yeah, Kelly.
congratulations, Terry. I know you're a faithful listener. I saw you got married yesterday. Yay.
That's
But
amazing.
yeah, I love seeing
Congratulations.
those stories. It's so awesome.
Yes, absolutely. It's beautiful because God makes beauty from ashes, right?
Sure does. Sure
And
does.
yeah, I felt very happy with this, watching this, because this girl, she lost her husband, and then I think, if I remember right, she also lost a boyfriend shortly after.
Oh my goodness, that's so hard.
And now she just got married, and
That's
I'm
awesome.
just like, good for you, good for you. And she made this big
Mhm.
post, big beautiful post about that, you know, that her kids would ask her like if they'll ever have a daddy again. And you know, her kids are small too, like mine. And I was just so, I don't know, I was just so moved and so happy for her, because it was just
Yeah,
beautiful, you know,
it
like
is
she's
beautiful.
so happy. And
Yeah.
it doesn't mean though, but see, like us, okay, those of you listening, you get it.
Yeah.
People from outside this community don't understand. They
No.
think that like if you can get married again, it somehow means you didn't love your spouse. Or
Right.
like you've said before, that people have said to you, oh, well, if I was in that situation, I
Oh,
could
yeah.
never date again.
You're like,
It's like,
"You
well,
don't
that's
know."
easy for you to say when you can picture what it's like your husband coming home from work every day, because he's still alive.
Right.
Of course you still feel that way. But yeah, wait, you know, if you lose him though, and 2 years go by without you having him, let's see how you feel about it then. Because it's
Yeah,
really
exactly.
easy to say, oh, I would never date anybody again, when you still have your husband that you're in love with, that's going to be home in like an hour. You know,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
of course you would,
Yeah.
of course you would say, I would have said the same thing. I would never date anybody again if I lost my wife. But
Right.
that's because I adored my wife so much and I loved
Right.
our relationship so much. Like I didn't even think about anybody else. It was like, no,
Exactly.
like, you know, but okay, now she's been gone for, you know, a little over 2 years.
Mhm.
Yeah, like you start thinking about like how much I don't want to be alone. I want to be with somebody. I want to be in love again. I want to share my life with somebody and,
Exactly.
you know, share funny moments with, you know, because funny things happen all the time when you got little kids.
Yeah, exactly. So
I
I
got,
wanted
these
to.
kids are funny.
Oh wait, did you want to
Anyways.
share a funny
No,
moment?
no,
I didn't mean
no,
to cut you
no. I
off.
just,
They're
no,
so
I'm
cute.
just picturing them. They're just always doing funny stuff. But
Yes. I was gonna say, so I've seen on Widow page of people talk about like, do you invite in-laws to the wedding? How do you do that? And I just wanted to share my experience that my mother-in-law has been amazing, and she's wanted to know, you know, I actually told her that I was starting to date before it was out on social media, and told her about Joel, and she's been like wonderful, like asking questions about him, all this stuff. And so I sent her the video last weekend of before I wanted her to see it before it was on social media that he proposed to me, and she was so kind. She said, I'm so happy for you. I love you. I can't wait to meet him. And it was just like this beautiful, and save the date and that she'll be there, you know. And so
that's awesome.
it just, and you may not have that kind of relationship with your in-laws. I think you're gonna know in your situation whether it's gonna be, I kind of think in most situations, letting it be their choice. Like, you know, I would love for you to be at my wedding, but I don't want you to feel like you have to be there. But I think especially if you have kids and it's their grandkids, they want to be there because it's such a big day in their grandkids' lives.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so
you know, I get it. And I think, first of all, I think it's very mature of both of you, of you and of her, for you to not hide from it. Because it's hard. Right? I mean,
the first conversation was hard.
It's uncomfortable because you don't want to seem like you're disrespecting their child at all, because they meant so much to you, and you've all grown together as a family. But I feel the same way. That like, yeah, it would be hard for me to invite my in-laws, but only because I don't want it to be hard for them, and I don't want them to feel that. Yeah. I don't want them to feel obligated. Exactly. But so for me, it would come with a, hey, like, just to be like, you guys, I totally understand if this isn't comfortable.
Right.
But you guys are family to me. I love you. I want you to be there. And I mean, honestly, I got to be careful what I say, because I don't want to like insult my mom. But I'll just say my in-laws have been really wonderful to me.
Right.
They've been really, really great to my kids, and I want them in my life. You know,
Exactly.
I mean, well, I can say straight up, I can say my father-in-law has been the closest thing to a father I've ever had. He
Right.
really has been like a dad to me,
Yeah.
in many, many ways, and I love him a lot. And you know, and I'll just say that my mother-in-law has been really, really great to me, really
Yeah.
loves me, checks in with me all the time, and has been really wonderful to my kids.
Yeah.
Um, and that's kind of where I have to leave it, to not, be insulting anybody else. But
Yeah.
so they're the closest thing to they're my closest family. I can say
Yeah.
that. They're my
Yeah.
closest family, and I love them a lot. And so I would want them to feel like I want them to be there. But of
Yeah.
course, because I do, because it would be a big, important day for me.
Yes.
And for my kids, like you mentioned. But I also have a ton of respect for the deep loss that they have endured,
Right.
and wouldn't want it to feel weird for them. And so, it's just this it is kind of a strange thing. So anyways, I'm glad that
Yeah.
you brought that up, because it is, you want them there, but you also don't want them to feel like they have to be there.
Right. And I'm thinking that about, other relatives and how, my mother-in-law, we've had lots of conversations about Joel, but other people, like how am I don't want to exclude them because they're my family, but I don't, if it's going to be too painful, I don't want them to feel. So I think that's a conversation I'll need to have with each one of them. It's like,
Mm,
I'd love you to be here. I'll send you an invitation, but do not feel like you have to come, because I know it could bring up
mm.
grief. So just kind of letting it be, their decision. So,
And let me ask you a question, because I
okay.
know a lot of people wonder what they would do in this situation. And I wonder also, are you going to, like, what are you going to do with your name?
Oh, I've decided to take his last name.
Okay. And so
So,
no more Bader, or are you doing
right.
Bader as like a middle name
Nope.
sort of thing?
No, I am
Just
100% going to be Eversole. That's, I get both sides of it, because I have friends like Stacy, who's been on here, she had both of her husband's last name,
that's right.
and
Uh-huh.
I respect that. I think that's beautiful too. I just think it's a very personal decision. The only
Mhm.
weird thing is, like, I've talked to my kids, they're kind of like, we don't have our same last name. But I don't know, just that's how I feel about it. I just want to take his last name. Like, I
And
feel like
that's all that matters, is what you
yeah,
think about
I
it. But I
feel
want
like
to know, how did you come to that? Did you pray about it?
because
Did it
no,
just feel right?
I just feel like that was one chapter I was Rommel, that's my maiden name, and then I became Bader when I married Luke, and I continued to be Bader. And I feel like this is the next chapter, and I want to be what Joel is like. So that's just my decision to do that. But I think for each person, it's their own decision. And Joel's been great about it. He's like, if you want to keep your lesson, whatever you want to do. He was totally
Yeah.
respected that. But he also likes it that I want to be the same as him. So
Sure. Yeah, I could see it being either way. I feel the same way. Obviously, it doesn't apply to me. But to my girlfriend,
yeah.
we I mean, just being real, we do plan and hope to get married.
Yes.
And with God's will and all that. But and I've told her the same thing, that like I don't care if you want
Right.
to keep his last name, whatever. Like it just it's up to you, whatever you want to do.
I think
Fortunately, she thinks my last name is cool. So
Massaro, it is a cool last
keep
name.
he'll probably
like
keep
it.
both,
Yeah.
But so yeah, it is a very personal. And so I was just curious, because I'm sure a lot of people wonder what they'll do in that
Well,
situation
because
that
I have
aren't there yet.
so many fans between the podcast and my books. I will keep my pen name / podcast name. No, like for real, I'll keep it the same on here, because that'd be like kind of confusing. Like, oh, you have a different co-host?
No, I think that's
well,
it. I
like
never
on our
thought about
little
that.
picture that says our names, I think I'm gonna keep it. I thought through these things, and
Okay.
then because I have written books as Michelle Bader, I think if I write another one, well, I might do a hyphen for that. I don't know yet when I write another book, which I do plan on doing.
It's confusing to be a woman. I'm sorry.
I know, right?
I don't have to think about that. I'm like, my name stays the same no matter what.
Right. And then there's like my daughter. I mean, granted, she's 16, but she says she's gonna always keep Bader because I was daddy's, and that's special to her. So but you know, it might be different when she like is engaged, but that's her thought right now. That's her, it's special because it was her dad's and she wants to carry that on.
Of
So,
course. Yeah.
you know, so it's like each person in their own situations can decide what works for them. It doesn't have to be just traditional and the way people think it should
Right.
be. But that's how I came to my decision. And like I couldn't wait to become Michelle Vader. I can't wait to become Michelle Ebersole because
But it doesn't rhyme with Vader anymore.
I know. And Mater, I know it's a little more complicated. It's longer. I go down in the alphabet, just a few.
Now going down in the alphabet's cool.
No, but like I'm not in the beginning anymore. Like I was B.
Oh, I see.
know what I'm saying?
Okay, I didn't. Yeah,
I
yeah,
meant,
yeah,
like,
yeah. I was
down
thinking of. I was thinking of
from
your
A.
maiden last name for a
Oh
second.
yeah,
R.
yeah. No, I was R and then B and then I'll go to E, which isn't that much different.
It's not
So,
that much, but yeah, it is. Yeah.
just
Okay.
a tiny bit. But I think I'm still in the same category for like potlucks, A through E, maybe.
I don't know. It might be A through D, and then you're just.
I know. And then, I'm like,
And then you don't get to eat.
Yeah.
And it's all
so-
Joel's fault.
I know. But it's mine because I'm choosing to take his last name.
I know. I'm
because
just teasing. I'm just being stupid.
I can't wait. And
Yeah, I'm
Well,
so
and
excited for you guys.
thank
Congratulations.
you. you.
Collectively, honestly, from me and from Mystery Girl and from all of our fans that I know would be saying it. I feel weird saying fans, our listeners. It just feels so weird. I'm like,
I
yeah,
know,
we got all
but
these
fans.
fans.
Right.
But from all of our listeners, like congratulations. You
Thank
have walked
you.
one heck of a journey, and I've seen most of it with you.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of you and just grateful for Joel and happy for
Thank
you
you.
guys and for your kids. And
Thank you.
you know, just salute. Cheers to the
Cheers.
next
Thank you.
chapter.
I'm so beyond excited. Like this doesn't seem real. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. It still like feels like a dream, and I'm just so thankful. Like I'm just so thankful to God for doing this.
Mm.
Like this would have never happened. Only God can take your shattered heart after you watch your spouse die, or don't watch, but your spouse dies, and can put your heart back together to be healthy enough to want to love again, to expand to love someone else, but still love them. I mean, only God could do that. Like there's no
Yes,
other
absolutely.
explanation. And I think it's been really beautiful. Like people are very invested in my love story. Like people who saw the whole, like people have written to me, like I saw the whole thing, like from when Luke was sick to now. And they love seeing that and seeing me happy again. And
Yeah, because they've
Um,
seen you, you know, it's not like the people on TikTok who talk
Yeah.
a bunch of garbage and say
Yeah.
like, you know, like, oh, how could you be so happy? Well, they didn't see what a lot of us saw, and even
Yeah.
not even me, you know, even because I met you were about 6 months when we met, I
yeah. Mhm.
think. But I saw you in depression and you know, going through grief a lot. And so congratulations to you, Joel.
Thank
If you're
you.
listening, you're just an awesome dude. And I'm just really happy for you guys. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
that's super
And there's
cool.
just one more thing that we can go. It's just exciting too, like gaining another family. It's like it just keeps expanding. It doesn't take
Yeah.
away from Luke's family or my family. It's like gaining another family. I'm gonna get 4 new sister-in-laws and another mother-in-law and father-in-law and lots of nieces and nephews. And it's just exciting. I even started a group chat with the new sister-in-laws and mother-in-law so I could keep them up to date on all the wedding stuff, because I knew like if I just let Joel tell them, it's gonna get lost in translation. And so I'm like sending them pictures when I look at venues and talking to them about the dates and, you know, all the stuff. And so that's been
Yeah.
really fun too, to get to know them a little bit better and just like, oh my gosh, because I never had sisters. So sister-in-laws are like sisters to me. And so it's just exciting to, as my heart is expanded to love another person, I'm loving another family now.
That's so
And
cool.
It's just this beautiful, beautiful journey that only God could do. So anyways, we've talked a lot about this. Thank you, listeners, for being on this journey with us. And
Thank
we're
you,
just-
fans.
I mean, fans, thanks fans for being on this journey with us. Anyways, anything else on this subject?
No, just we're really happy for you. And I know it's encouraging to a lot of people. And you know, I just want to add though that like if you're not there, like don't worry
Yeah,
about it. Like
totally.
don't feel like because I remember it was like a thing. Just don't feel like there's something wrong with you because
Right,
you
for
don't
sure.
feel like you're not ready to like even consider dating yet. That's okay.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
that's more than okay. And it's just entirely up to you. And I know a lot of you know that, but there's just some people I know I've read posts when I used to be in widowed groups that people would say like, I see all these people starting up new relationships and I just don't feel ready for that. Like, what's wrong with me? And
Right.
so I just in case anybody feels like that, there's nothing wrong with you. And as Michelle would say, you do you.
You do you, boo.
Oh yeah, you
That's
do
what
you,
you-
boo.
So all of you do you. So do you
Yes,
want to,
all of you do you.
all of you do you. Do you want to close us out in prayer?
Yes.
All right, let's do it.
Lord, I'd like to start by thanking you and praising your name for the amazing things that you have done
Mhm.
in Michelle and I's life,
Mhm.
just over the course of knowing each other, what you've really brought us through, the friendship that you've given us both. I'd just like to thank you for that.
Mhm.
And thank you for Joel and for Mystery Girl. You know who she
Yeah.
is. And I thank you for these incredible, incredible blessings.
Mhm.
I pray, Lord, that you would be working behind the scenes for every single person listening.
Mhm.
And I pray that you would, listen to their hearts about what they're hoping for in this next chapter of life, and that you would grant them the healing to be ready to move forward if that's what they want. And, just all the things, Lord, I just pray that you would be there for all of us and continue to bless us and to just show us love in the way you have. And, you really do give beauty from ashes. And though we miss our spouses tremendously, you can provide healing to our hearts in a way that allows us to have enough strength to move forward. And I thank you for that. And I would just like to pray that over everybody listening, as I know
Mhm.
a couple of listeners in particular I'm thinking of that have reached out for prayers, that I'm praying for them specifically, Lord, and for their small little children, and that you would comfort their hearts and help them in this very, very difficult journey and path. And it's in Jesus' name I ask these things. And I'd like to pray for you to put and pour your blessings over Joel and Michelle in the coming months as they plan and prepare. I'd like to pray that you would draw them closer together as they draw closer to you. And I ask those things in Jesus' name. Please bless their marriage. And thank you. Amen.
Amen. Well, if you like this podcast, give it a little bing, 5 stars. Like, I lost my voice like right at that second. Rate and review it on Apple Podcasts, blah, blah, all the stuff. If you want to be a guest, we are still trying to coordinate a few that have reached out. You can email us at widowedtoosoonm@gmail.com, on Instagram, Facebook, all the places. And yeah, I think that's it. So anything else?
That's it.
I think we've covered a lot today. So
I think we did.
I hope this episode encourages you, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.
Yay, yay.
Was that bye? Should I stop now?
Yes.
All right. Bye.